It's a live look at Boston, Massachusetts now as we check back in on one of our top stories, anti-Trump protests taking place across the country today after a tumultuous week, to say the least, on Wall Street and the economy. We want to point out, just a few minutes ago, we did show you a protest. We said it was Boston. It was not Boston. It was an unrelated protest. But what you are looking at right now is Boston, and I'm from there. I can recognize this. This is the plaza right outside of City Hall in downtown.
It's official. Segregation is now back on the table for the American government, and we have Donald Trump to thank for it. You heard me right. Thanks to Donald Trump, segregation is now no longer banned in the federal government. More specifically, government contractors are no longer banned from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. Yeah, thanks to Donald Trump, now government contractors can have shit like this again. And what was Donald Trump's logic behind this asinine decision? Well, he's tackling DEI, of course. Donald Trump is bringing back segregation in order to supposedly combat DEI. I wish I was making this shit up. I wish I was making up all of the insane shit that Donald Trump says and does. But unfortunately, this is just our fucked up reality now, and until somebody does something about Donald Trump, I'm afraid there won't be an end to the madness anytime soon.
Ahí es donde llevan a los indocumentados.
He's 2 years old, and it's going up, and it seems like she got her hand stuck.
Ya va, que la estás jalando ahí con algo, la estás jalando ahí con algo. Toma. Ven, Liani, ven, gateando, Liani, ven. Álzale, álzale el cartón para que ya
They're trying to tell the baby girl
salga.
to crawl.
Álzale, álzale el cartón. Ven, ven, dale, dale, dale. Álzatelo, álzatelo.
Vente, mi amor, vente.
Venga, venga, gate.
Ay, hija. Agárrala.
Look at the little girl here, and then she got her sweatpants stuck. It seems like the little girl's they're gonna pull her in right now. They got her.
Apúrate con la...
All jokes aside, if somebody doesn't check that motherfucker, soon, I'm talking like in a matter of days, there will be another civil war on American soil. I don't like making posts like this. I don't want to get on here to fearmonger or scare you. I'm just not going to look at all this shit and say, it's fine. If somebody doesn't check the President of the United States, in a matter of days, there will be a civil war. And I'm so terrified of admitting that or sharing that news, because who the fuck wants violence or bloodshed other than Kevin Roberts, who said there will be bloodshed, or there won't be bloodshed as long as the left allows it. Basically saying stay out the way. Why do I think we're days away from potentially seeing a civil war? Everything that's happening in Los Angeles right now, right? I see the tweets from the tweets or whatever from Donald Trump, and he says, rioters and looters have no place in America. The National Guard is on the way. Pete Hegseth is talking about bringing in the fucking Marines. God forbid the American citizens have a fucking problem with unmarked vehicles full of people who claim they don't have to show identity or their fucking faces. God forbid they have a problem with people like that showing up at elementary school graduations to arrest the parents of the kids who are graduating. You know how traumatizing that is for an elementary school kid? You're there to fucking graduate. It's elementary school. You just want your mom and dad to be there to tell you good job. They're there to tell you good job, and now you have to watch them run away because ICE agents showed up to take them away. I don't want to hear the bullshit of, oh, well, they should be in the country legally. Fuck you. Fuck you. You can't call yourself a goddamn Christian, but then want somebody to go through some bullshit like that just because they don't have the same papers as you? Is that what Jesus would have done? Would Jesus have been like, oh, I'm not going to heal the sick because they don't have the right paperwork? No, you weird bitch. So I will always say you can't be fucking Christian and MAGA. But back to the point. When they say get creative, and then I see ICE agents go to elementary school graduations with the thought process of, well, of course the parents will be at their kid's graduation. What kind of parent wouldn't be at their graduation? A better question is, what kind of parent, better yet, what kind of father would want to set an example for their son where the son looks at the dad and says, Dad, why are you wearing a mask? Dad, I saw a video of you taking a woman away and the husband was crying. What happened, Dad? Dad, what's that video of you doing this? That's the example you're gonna set for your son? Okay. There's gonna be a civil war if somebody doesn't check this motherfucker. This is quite literally fascism. If the fucking January 6ers can be let free, but then people protest against ICE in LA and y'all wanna call the fucking National Guard? A quote I became aware of last year that is wildly accurate to the point where I almost want to get it tattooed on me. I don't have any tattoos. I'm quite scared of the needles. I'll be honest about it. But that shit I want to get tatted on me. It says, when corruption becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. And you can replace corruption with whatever words you want. When fascism becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. When white supremacy becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. Whatever word you want to put in there, when it's not fucking American, when it's not fucking democratic, not in the political sense, but in the sense of democracy, yeah, rebellion becomes fucking duty. What are we talking about? And let me be absolutely clear so TikTok doesn't try to come for me again. I'm not promoting violence in any way, shape, or form. I never do that. Why the fuck would I do that? Violence is weird. If you can't be civil and mature and things like that, maybe you shouldn't have controversial conversations, be in certain fields, whatever the fuck. But when we're talking about the extreme things we're seeing right now where they feel like it's necessary to call in the National Guard because the American people have a problem with some masked, unidentified people taking people off the streets, if we're being honest about it, simply because of how they look. That's not homegrown criminals. That's not domestic terrorism. That's not any of that shit. That's the American people being the fucking American people. Don't know what the fuck you thought it was. Y'all thought y'all were just gonna come in the United States of America, of all places. Slavery lasted for centuries, bitch, but we over fucking came in along with segregation, along with a bunch of other bullshit. They thought they were gonna waltz into America, use Elon Musk technology or however the fuck they took over the presidency again. They thought they were just gonna waltz in here and do all this extreme shit and not meet any opposition. You must not fully understand how much Americans love freedom. And you're not gonna sit here and tell a country full of intelligent, conscious adults that their disapproval of what you're doing with the deportations is them being un-American, bitch. You're gonna realize a very rude awakening when you come to realize that. Let me put it this way. I'll wrap it up. Let me put it this way. They sent 2,000 National Guard troops, armed, obviously, to LA. Let's assume that half the total population of Los Angeles is against ICE. So now you have 2,000 National Guards versus half the population of Los Angeles. Will there be loss on both sides? Of course. Duh. That's why we don't like violence. We don't like war. But if we're looking at it from numbers alone, I feel like Los Angeles might have this in the bag if their numbers are like 105 to 1.
To every National Guard member with a spine and a soul, if you're being ordered to deploy into California under any directive tied to a self-declared national emergency by a convicted felon, an insurrectionist, an illegitimately restored executive, read your damn UCMJ. You swore an oath, not to a man, not to a party, and certainly not to a fascist cult masquerading as governance. You swore to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Let me remind you, an order is only lawful if it aligns with the Constitution, unchecked power through systemic manipulation and incitement of sedition represents, by definition, a constitutional crisis, not a lawful administration. Deploying troops without consent of the state, especially under a hostile executive agenda, is not national defense. It's federal aggression. If you are ordered to turn your weapons, your presence, or your silence against American citizens in any capacity that violates constitutional boundaries, that is an unlawful order. Under Article 92 of the UCMJ, your legal and moral duty is to refuse it, not to hesitate, not to defer, not to wait and see, to refuse. Period. Let me make this brutally clear. If you follow illegal commands issued by an authoritarian regime, especially one that came to power through insurrection, election denial, and violent coercion, you become part of the very domestic enemies your oath warned you about. You will not be able to hide behind, "I was just following orders." That excuse has never aged well. This isn't about politics. This is about the Constitution, state sovereignty, the rule of law. This is about the attempted militarization of dissent, the weaponization of federal power to crush civilian autonomy. This is the moment the line is drawn. If your command accepts these orders, they are collaborating with seditionists. If you obey them blindly, you are no longer defending your country. You are occupying it. To all who still have honor in uniform, stand the fuck down. Refuse unlawful activation. Demand congressional intervention. Uphold your oath. Before your complicity writes your legacy, history is watching. And this time there will be no excuse.
The death penalty is officially on the table for those who remain in the U.S. without lawful status. The memorandum issued by the White House on February 5th that's titled "Reviving the Federal Death Penalty and Lifting the Moratorium on Federal Executions." During his campaign, Trump was very vocal that he would be pursuing the death penalty for undocumented immigrants that committed crimes of, unaliving people. The fine print in this memorandum is going to shock you. The policy states that it will be applied to cases involving non-drug capital crimes by cartels, transnational criminal organizations, and aliens who traverse our borders and remain in the U.S. without legal status. Read that again. It's not just for the cartel members, it's also for aliens who are in the U.S. and remain in the U.S. without lawful status. It doesn't say only criminals who have been convicted of this, and it says aliens without lawful status in the U.S. This memorandum comes at the heels of the very controversial executive orders of shipping migrants to Guantanamo Bay, throwing a blanket over undocumented immigrants, labeling them as dangerous criminals for the sole fact if they are in the U.S. unlawfully. This is wild.